What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today I've got some I Do Work Here Lady stories for you. You guys loved last episode, so I thought I'd go for it again. This is my painting. Some quick context. I'm an artist who paints landscapes. You know, nature, rivers, trees, etc. So onto my story. I was invited to create 5 or so paintings to be hung for a special event at a local art gallery. Other artists would also be showing their work and to expect that I could sell all my pieces. I paint almost exclusively on 18 by 24 canvases and only paint on other size canvases for a request or if I feel inspired by something. I live in the west/southwest and there is never a shortage of things for me to find inspiration from. Also, I grew up in the Pacific Northwest and so I have those memories to draw from as well. So I painted a greenish woodland scene, a swampy scene, a desert scene, a seascape and river scene with tall sandstone cliffs. The river scene is what this story is about, and so I'll go into more detail about it. It is a faster moving river that begins in the left top quadrant of the canvas, winds down to the middle of the canvas and loops back to the lower left quadrant. On the right hand side are sandstone bluffs with some vegetation, and there is a spit of land that allows for the river to loop around on the left. That spit of land has trees, bushes, driftwood, rocks, what you would normally find along a river in the Pacific Northwest. However, the scene is more attuned to the southwest, with a desert like sandstone cliffs and rocks. The whole painting is truly a figment of my imagination, and parts got painted over and repainted a few times before I got what I wanted. This is important. I used Douglas fir trees on my spit of land, none of which grow in the southwest, and I used cacti to break up the rock on the right side. I also used huckleberry and rhododendron bushes on the spit, both native to the Pacific Northwest and can't be found in the southwest. This is also important. The painting is called Wandering. So, the date of the opening is at hand, and I never dress up much. For me, a pair of pressed jeans, cowboy boots, a white shirt with tie, and I am all set. I'm 60-ish, and gravity has forced my body such that all nice muscle in my shoulders has drooped down to around my waist. My wife still loves me, but I sometimes think she longs for the younger me. Mostly everyone else is dressed up, and that includes my wife, who loves these events as an excuse to dress to the nines. You ladies know what I mean: long evening gown, matching clutch purse, matching high heels, hair all done up, 3 hours before the makeup mirror. Joke on the makeup mirror, I think it was only 2 hours and a quarter. We wandered around the different exhibits and I marveled at the talent that is before me. It's hard for me to accept that I'm any good, even when people tell me, because, well, it's just hard. My wife's siblings are always begging me for paintings to hang on their walls, but I try to put them off and let my wife decide. So I'm standing in front of my Wandering painting and finding all the places where I think there is a mistake, and how the lighting isn't quite right, when this woman walks up to stand next to me. Don't you hate it when the artist just finds some picture on the internet and copies it? I just saw this picture on a magazine in the airport not too long ago, she said in a high nasal tone. I looked at her and she too was done up to the nines with a glass of something bubbly in her hand. She looked to be in her 30s, but then again, I am a terrible judge of age. But her face looked like someone had smashed it in with a canoe paddle. Oh my. Indeed? I asked. Yeah, I see it everywhere. Artists nowadays have no imagination, they just copy. This woman wore a dark blue pantsuit with a white blouse and probably stood 5'2" with an extra 3rd grader around her waist. I'm not condemning her for having the equivalent of a 3rd grader's weight around her waist, it's just an observation. And you're sure you saw this on a magazine cover somewhere? I asked. Oh yes, I am very sure of that. The reason I ask is that if you notice, this is a southwestern scene, but there are elements in it that you would not find in the southwest, like those trees and these bushes. I gently probed. She looked closer and said, oh no, I see those everywhere around here. I think I might even have some growing in my own yard. I thought to myself, she's delusional or high or tripping on LSD or something. Just then, my wife shows up and gives me my water as she sips her bubbly drink. What do you think of the lighting? She asks. Maybe a little soft for this one, I'm not sure. My wife went from facing the painting to facing me. OP, she started, grabbing my chin so that I was now looking at her. Where are you? Huh? When you say you're not sure, that's my cue that you are far, far away in another galaxy. Before I could answer, this other lady murmurs, and this price, where do these artists get that anybody is going to pay that price for a copy of something else? My wife Katie's eyes got big around her and her head cocked to one side as she looked around my shoulders at the woman on the other side of me. You think it's overpriced, do you? Overpriced? A 10-year-old could make this. What does this artist do? Rip out pictures from magazines and then just copy them? Really? No imagination at all. There should be a law banning this kind of ineptitude, the woman said with disgust in her voice. Katie seemed to falter, and then her eyes got big around, and I tried to shush her. It didn't work. It just so happens that I know this artist, and I know for a fact that he did not copy it from some magazine. The odds that there is a magazine out there with this picture in it are, well, you have a better chance of winning the lottery twice than you would finding a magazine with this between its folds. The lady came around to face Katie, and as I've said before, Katie is 40-ish but looks 20-ish. I dare say, young lady, that you aren't even old enough to understand art, let alone tell me what I've seen and what I've not seen. And I dare say, young lady, that I'm probably older than you are, and I've seen more art in the last 20 years than you've seen in your entire life. I've met more artists, more famous artists, and more up-and-coming artists than you'll ever know. When I say this is an original work, this is an original work. My wife Katie was starting to get fired up, and I didn't want the gallery owner to have to ask her to leave, which has happened once before. My lady does like to defend her man. Just as the lady was about to retort something, another artist came up and said, "Lady, there is no way you've seen this as some photograph in any magazine. There are elements here that just simply don't belong, and that is exactly why this cannot be a copy. Those trees don't belong, those bushes don't belong, and even the river itself doesn't belong. There is no river like that anywhere in the desert. All the rivers around us are slow and lazy, and this is fast and rushing. I think this artist must have been high on crack when he painted this." He gave me a very obscure nudge in the ribs when he said that last part, because we've admired each other's work, and I have one of his paintings in my house, and he has one of my paintings in his house. The difference between us is that his paintings start at 6 figures and hang all over the world, and mine just don't. "You don't know what you're talking about," the lady said. "You're just some hippie living in some commune who hopes to make a few bucks on the pity of somebody else's hard work." I couldn't help it. I laughed. I turned and looked at this woman and said, "He," pointed to the guy that jumped to my rescue, "has paintings in the White House. He has paintings in every major art museum in the US and parts of the world. He has a waiting list of a decade for his paintings. His house alone is probably worth more than what you will ever make in your lifetime." Although, to give her due credit, he did look like he probably lived in some commune high in the peaks. Writing this, I won't tell you his name because I haven't asked him if I can include him in the story. While I'm sure he wouldn't mind, he likes stuff like this, I'd rather wait and update at a later date. So, this lady is again about to say something when the gallery owner comes over and puts a hand on my friend's shoulder, and she asks, "Distinguished artist, how are we doing tonight? I'm so glad that you decided to come up the mountain and visit us." The lady's mouth opened like the gape of a tunnel at the name dropping. I was just explaining to this lady how OP here could never have painted this for a photograph, as one just does not exist. She couldn't have seen this in a magazine, as the elements just don't exist in nature the way he's painted them. Laughing, the gallery owner asked, "Do you remember, OP, about a couple of years ago, you had that one painting that had a coyote in the brush and the limbs made it look like it had antlers?" "Oh, I remember that," Katie said excitedly. OP wanted to fix that and I wouldn't let him. "Do you remember the man who swore that he's got coyotes with antlers running around his chicken farm?" the gallery owner asked. The distinguished artist looked at me and asked, "Were you on drugs?" He teases me about this even though he knows I'm seriously against that sort of thing. I mean, I don't even drink alcohol. You didn't paint this," the lady said lightly. "He sure did," Katie jumped in, still excited. "I watched him from his blocking colours to his signature. I love to watch him paint." I watched as the lady slinked off, and when she was gone, I asked the gallery owner, "Who was that?" Shaking her head from side to side, she said, "She's a crazy Karen who thinks she knows all there is to know about art and paintings, and she just trashes this artist and then that one just to get her kicks in. I don't know why I let her into these things. She never buys anything." Well, I know this story didn't have that explosive ending you all clamour for, but it's one of the few Karen or near Karen stories I have. I sold all of my paintings and the city bought one of the distinguished artist paintings because, well, he is just superior at what he does, and they were discounted for the showing. When we got home, Katie just had to tell our daughter the whole story, and my daughter said, "Isn't he always doing something like that? Putting in stuff that doesn't belong?" Katie gave me a look from the side of her face and said, "That's how you can tell it never came from a photograph." Oh, that was a really nice story. I think I definitely made the right decision. I decided to go for one longer story in today's episode rather than the 2, 3, 4 shorter ones. Let me know, guys, if you enjoyed that switch up. I just personally think it's sometimes nice to sit back and listen to a longer story with more detail like this one. I really enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. Now, guys, I definitely can't end this video without checking out some fan art. I mean, it's literally the perfect video to look at some fan art, so let's get a few in right here. Firstly, we've got this one from Radwally, a really cool piece. I really like the design on this one. You know, the style is really, really cool. Secondly, we've got this one from Zanakin. It's an entitled parents one. You can't call the manager. I mean, I'm definitely not as ripped as that, but I like the style again. And then finally, we have this one from Golden Flame G. It's a really cool one. I think it's my old R logo, and it's obviously celebrating Pride Month. For those of you that are celebrating right now, I hope you're having a great month. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this episode of r/IDOWorkHereLady. If you enjoyed it and you want more from this subreddit from me, the playlist is up on screen right now. Go ahead, binge them all if you want to. There are quite a few I Do Work Here Lady videos I've done now, I'm pretty sure. If not, make sure you are subscribed to my channel with notifications turned on so you never miss any of my uploads. You know, I tend to upload at kind of varying times, so yeah, that's the way you'll never miss them. With that being said, guys, have a great evening, and I will see you tomorrow for a brand new video on my channel.